You are now watching the Ball and Beats podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to another episode of the Ball and Beats podcast. I am Logan, joined alongside me, Spencer, and a new guest, as you will start to see this face a little bit more often on the show, Andrew Hoffman. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's great to be here. Finally, our schedules aligned a little bit. Yeah. Of course, I work every Thursday, but, I'm excited to be here. I watched your guys' podcast, this past spring semester, a little bit. I think you guys do a great job. It was really good content for, later stuff. Just happy to be here and, talk about some sports.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As we also have Alan as well through Zoom as well. How are you doing today,
sir? Guys? Doing good.
You got a really blue bed.
You have it's a very blue bed and a very bright background with the dark blue shirt.
Also, clean off your nightstand. You got a ton of stuff on there.
I swear, is that a bag of Chester's hot fries right there? What is that? Oh, nope. Okay. Yeah, that nightstand, buddy.
All right.
You got everything piled up. You try and make a pillow.
You have a nightstand that's a pillow.
Are you hiding someone underneath the covers? Is that what you're doing right now? Anyway, back on topic, though. As we continue our football season preview, last week we discussed the Big Ten and the NFC South. Today, we're going to go on to the other best conference in college football, the SEC and the AFC South. But let's start off today talking about college football first, of course. The SEC, Georgia now really the talk of college football. Kirby Smart now the best head coach in college football. Carson Beck coming back for the Georgia Bulldogs. It just seems like a perfect world for Georgia to, just keep on going.
Yeah, it's every single year it'll be like this. Georgia will be the favorite in the SEC. I think Texas, this is their year where they can be second, but they're losing Quinn Ewers and they are gaining Arch Manning next year once Quinn Ewers leaves.
I don't know how much of a gain that actually.
I don't. That's exactly. Although he's an 87 overall, Arch Manning is in college football without playing a single snap, so that makes sense. But other than Georgia and Texas, I don't think there's a heavy favorite. I think it's just those two will probably end up meeting in the title game because there's a few dark horses out there, but Georgia's the team to beat. Alabama you can throw in there, but I think with them losing Nick Saban, I think they lose an edge in that. I think there's going to be a new system inputted for Kalen DeBoer, and I think it's going to be a little different for Alabama this year. I think they'll still be good. I don't think they will be as good though.
Yep. Andrew?
No, absolutely. I think it's going to be super interesting with conference realignment and Kellen DeBoer coming in his first year. That's such a tough transition. Obviously takes the Huskies to the national championship last year, runs into an absolute buzzsaw in the Michigan Wolverines. Nobody was going to touch them, especially the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, Kyle McCord was about 40 yards away, but okay.
I watched that game. It was right in front of me, and had he not got sacked, Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to walk in and destroy my hopes and dreams of the $300 that I paid for that ticket. But thank God thank God that we got in there. But I think they're interesting to watch. I think Oklahoma as well. A couple down years the last couple years. It's not will they be able to compete. It's more or less what can they show this first year in the SEC that gives recruits that, hey, maybe we can bring the Sooners back into the fold here sometime soon. Obviously, there are other teams like Ole Miss in Jackson Dart, who he is what he is at this point.
Solid, nothing more.
Yeah, I think Alabama and Oklahoma are the two teams you have to look at, and you kind of go, what can they bring to the table this first year? But you're absolutely right. I think Georgia is the best team in college football, and I think they come back this year and go, okay, yeah, Michigan won last year, but they didn't have to face us. I think Carson Beck comes back. I think him and that Georgia defense revamped.
Yeah,
it's going to be so interesting to watch. And Texas, yes, they got to the semifinals last year, lose to a good Washington team. I don't think they're going to be as good as people think they're going to be. They lost a lot of weapons to the NFL.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, those are big-time pieces, but that running back room is still potentially the best in college football.
I'd make the argument that there was a team in Columbus that has the best running back.
Yeah, Ohio State is the best running back duo.
But C.J. Baxter,
what do you mean?
high-quality running back.
Name a better running back duo than Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson.
I think Quinshon Judkins is good, but, I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, he's good because he's coming to the Buckeyes. Yeah,
he was good at Ole Miss. He was really good at Ole Miss.
I think it'll be interesting to see, but I do think that Texas's
running back room is really elite.
Very good.
C.J. Baxter is a really good running back for Texas.
Yeah.
That run game's going to be really good. Yeah, they lost Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell to the NFL, but it's Texas. Nowadays in modern
Texas has
football,
gotten back to being Texas.
Yes.
I think that's the main takeaway. And until otherwise, Georgia will be the number one team in the country every single year. Because they recruit at the best level, and they develop at the best level. Kirby Smart has built an absolute dynasty in Athens. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I want to talk about Alabama because I don't think the fall-off is going to be as crazy as people think it is. Because Kalen DeBoer is still recruiting at a very, very high level. That has not dropped off by any means. They've still kept a lot of the pieces from last season's offense in particular. Jalen Milroe, let's just say he's elite in the video game. He's the best quarterback in the video game.
Yeah, in real life he sucks.
He don't suck. Jalen Milroe does not suck.
When he throws the football better, let me know, and he doesn't just run the ball.
If it wins, it wins.
It won't win when they play Georgia. It won't win if they play Texas.
I mean, he beat Georgia. He beat Georgia, though. And Georgia
he did beat Georgia, but the defense showed up.
Defense did show up, but he beat Georgia. He still beat Georgia.
Yeah, running the ball.
And that's going to win. What happened? Look at Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. I'm just saying.
And look where Alabama ended up with running the ball. They ran the ball on 4th and goal right up the middle and got just stopped by Michigan. The plan was to just have him run up the gut, and everybody knew that wasn't going to work.
One of the bigger problems with that, though, the reason they had to run the ball that late in the game is due to their center snapping problems that they had all of the road.
Seth McLaughlin, who is Buckeye now. Yeah.
You look even if you look at the highlights, the first quarter they were having.
That's some of the worst snapping I've seen in my life.
It was really bad, and they had to at some point try and find something different. And yeah, they might be running or whatever, but having the ball at the 5-yard line and taking it out of Jalen Milroe's hands, I wouldn't have either.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily take the ball out of Jalen Milroe's hands because he is their best player in general on their team. He is their most athletic player. Yes, he's quarterback. You're supposed to be able to throw the ball. They still got a lot of their wide receivers from last season.
Yeah.
They still got Kobe Prentice and company down there in Bama. I don't think Bama's going to fall off that hard. Everyone's sitting here hoping that Alabama's going to drop. I still think Alabama makes the playoff this year, personally.
Well, yeah.
They're going to make the playoff.
That should be a
With
given.
how the playoff is now with the 12-team format, you're going to see 8 or 9 SEC and Big Ten schools combined probably to make up the playoff.
10-2 sounds right for Alabama.
Yes, it does.
They lose to Georgia at home because they play Georgia, and then they lose to LSU.
Yeah. Alan, any thoughts for you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think Alabama's going to fall off too far. I mean, obviously losing Nick Saban is obviously kind of a bad thing, but I think that they've been set up to still be that successful Alabama that we all hate but can't get rid of. And I also would pick Texas as a dark horse to actually win that season.
Not a dark horse.
I know Texas lost some major players to the NFL, but you can't bet against Quinn Ewers, who's probably going to have one of the best seasons so he can be the number 1 draft.
Alan and his dark horse takes, or his hot takes are
cold.
As mild as they come.
As mild as they
Salt
come.
and pepper.
To me, a dark horse to win the conference is a school more like Missouri. Or
Luther Burden the third. Let me tell you what, that boy is good.
He's going to be a top 10 pick.
He's going to be a top 5 pick.
He is
possibly.
good.
He's
and
really
their
good.
quarterback play is really good.
Brady Cook.
Brady
Cook's really
Brady
good
Cook
too.
is good. Their defense is Big 12-esque, but
Makes sense since they're
the thing
really a
is,
Big
Eli
12 school.
Drinkwitz has really built that program because
Yeah.
Missouri used to be really good years and
Yes.
years ago.
Oh,
but
yeah.
he finally has gotten them to a point. I mean, they beat Ohio State last year. Did Ohio State have their entire third team out there the entire game? Yeah, but and Travion Henderson. But they still won, and
Yeah.
I think that really carried some momentum over. And they lost a few pieces. They lost Ennis Rakestraw Jr.
Yep.
And they lost their defensive end. What was his name?
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, the defensive end who was really good for him last year. I forgot his name, but he
the
went
Chiefs'
to the
first
draft.
round pick,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. But I agree. I do think Missouri can be good. The problem is, and I will say, it is the Georgia and Missouri game. You said they don't play each
They
other
do
this
not
year.
play this.
Man, that's gonna
regular
throw me
season.
off because of the divisions that they used to be in. But I think Missouri can do it.
I think Missouri is the dark horse to watch out for. People are going to talk about Ole Miss, and a lot of people think Ole Miss. I've seen some people say Ole Miss wins the conference this year. Actually, I've seen some big people say that.
Whoa,
I'm
no.
gonna say this.
Who do they have other than Jackson Dart?
Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna say,
I will
Miss-
say they got Walter
Ole
Nolan
Miss is
from
not
Texas.
winning.
They got Walter Nolan, one of the best pickups in the transfer portal for the defensive side of the ball. Ole Miss is like Colorado.
I was
They
gonna say,
attack
but
that transfer
Lane
portal
Kiffin's
like
an
crazy.
offensive team.
Let's be honest though. Like Ole Miss is the Colorado of the SEC, where they attack the transfer portal. They always get the guys in the transfer portal. They always add pieces back. They always have hype. They're projected. I think they're going to be ranked like 5th or 6th in the preseason poll. That's what a lot of people, roughly give or take, put them at.
Wow.
I'm
The Rebels.
serious. The Rebels. We're talking about the Ole Miss Rebels.
The running
Wow.
Rebels. I don't see it.
that. I think Jackson Dart isn't a terrible player. I really don't, but he gives me very much Bo Nix vibes in the fact that he's athletic enough, he's good enough, but you need a little more help than just to have a good quarterback. And like you said, the Judkins kid just left, correct?
Yeah.
It's tough. With the realignment, you almost have to have a lot of your team from last year to come back over to transition into a good first year, especially with how many good players and good teams are in there. I don't see the Ole Miss Rebels really doing much. I mean, they could prove me wrong and be very good and whatever, but if history rewrites itself, and it usually does, and tells you something, they're going to have to get through a lot and play a lot of really good teams this year. I mean, everybody's going to, but can they do that? I don't think Jackson Dart and company can get it done.
And they will be a good offensive team. That's a good thing with Lane Kiffin. You will have a really good
Yes,
offense with Lane
always.
Kiffin. Problem is your defense is going to be subpar. It's not going to be great. And I think that's going to, bite them when it comes to later in the season if they have to play Georgia or if they got to play Texas. He's tough. I don't know their schedule. But if they got to play like Alabama or these tough SEC teams, I won't be able to pick them because of that.
Another team I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on as well, simply because of how last season went, is LSU. Yeah, they don't have Jaden Daniels anymore. They don't have Brian Thomas Jr. They don't have Malik Neighbors anymore on the offensive side of the ball. They lost a lot. However, I still think they have arguably the best defensive player in college in Harold Perkins Jr. at the linebacker. Yes, their defense last year was god awful. Their defense was
It's the reason why
terrible.
they did. It's the reason why they didn't win the SEC.
It is the reason why they didn't win the SEC. They had the best offense.
Yes.
And went 8-4, 9-3, whatever they went. I think LSU can still be a sneaky dark horse team. Yeah, they got Nussmeier, who's going to be their starting quarterback. It sounds like week 1 for them. I think LSU still has pieces.
What's his name?
Nussmeier? His last name's Nussmeier.
His first name's Nuss?
No.
Oh,
His last name is
I thought it was
Nussmeier.
Nussmeier.
His
I
last
was like,
name's Meyer.
that dude's gonna win the Heisman.
I think it's Garrett Nussmeier. Or Grant
Yeah,
Nussmeier.
I think you're right. I think you're correct. Yeah.
That sounds like a mid quarterback.
That sounds like an A&M quarterback who's going to transfer
Nussmeier.
into like his third school is going to be like,
Well, they're a team that you can't take
UTEP.
out of there either.
yeah.
A&M. I mean, they're not going to be.
Hey, what about Vanderbilt?
well-
You never know what the Commodores can do.
more or less?
I mean, but A&M, there's no
More or less,
longer
you
Jimbo
can't take
Fisher.
A&M out of the picture due to the fact if they get a game at 8 p.m. at their
At home, at Kyle Field.
it's like anything can happen with the home of the 12th man.
Yeah.
I don't think that they win more than 7 games this year.
Right.
But
And it's first year under Mike
Typical
Elko.
Texas A&M season: 7-5, 8-4.
I mean, it's all about, and really, I mean, Alabama Texas, all these big teams. Can you beat the teams you're supposed to beat on the way to getting to those big teams?
I will say the first game of the season for A&M is at home against Notre Dame. And I think that's a great testament for both teams to see who's real and who's for not, because I think whoever wins that game will most likely make the playoffs. I will pick Texas A&M to make the playoffs if they beat Notre Dame at home, because Notre Dame is going to be a good team again this year.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
they got Riley Leonard coming in.
Yeah.
And
Marcus
they're returning
Freeman.
a lot of Marcus Freeman.
Believe now.
Marcus
'cause that
Freeman's
dude's gonna be
recruiting at
good.
an elite
He's gonna
level
be-
for Notre Dame.
He's going to be
Yeah.
an elite head coach here
Yes.
in the next 5 years.
And I think whoever wins that game will probably make the playoffs, because I think that's a testament, a really good early test for both teams.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be funny if that's the only win Texas A&M has this year, because that'd make
1
it
in
even
11.
that'd make it even more Texas A&M like. Who's one head coach in the SEC this year that needs to have success, or else they're just out? They're out the door. Who's one head coach?
I will
you
say
look at?
I will say this. I know. I'll give you two. One, it's gonna be, just bear with me. Kalen DeBoer. Following up Nick Saban is going to be really, really tough.
We
And-
knew
and
coming
that
in.
Alabama fan base will not take a team that goes 10-2 and 9-3 every year. And I think he has to show that Alabama's not going anywhere his first year, and that if he falls off and Alabama goes 8-4, he's on the hot seat already. Because that's how Alabama is.
Yeah.
If you do not perform at an elite level at Alabama, and you don't, he recruits, but if you don't develop talent and you don't go out there and win games, you're not going to succeed at all at Alabama. And whoever's the head coach at Vanderbilt, I
Every
could
year.
not tell you who the head coach.
If you
at
can win
Vanderbilt is.
3 games, you can keep your
Although
job.
I'll rebuild Vanderbilt.
I think it's Jeff Lebby from Mississippi State. It's a team that gets Ole Miss every single year, right, in the Egg Bowl. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I don't think Ole Miss is going to be that good, is because can you even say, with confidence that they're going to beat Mississippi State every year? No, you can't.
No.
Because it's the Egg Bowl. It's it's a different game.
It really is.
It's not even Ohio State, Michigan.
I
It's
think
like
Mississippi
the most
State-
like weird game because it's Mississippi, and Mississippi is a
And
weird
it's on a
state.
Friday too.
Let's
It's
be
always
honest.
the day before
but-
rivalry week,
Let's
or
be
the day
honest
before
here. I
rivalry.
think Mississippi State might be one of the most underrated environments to play in.
Exactly.
In college football.
And I might be
When
wrong,
they're good.
Yeah.
but
They're good.
they're either ranked or they're close to being ranked.
Yes.
And these types of teams need to be able to show something at some point, because with Texas coming in, I think Kalen DeBoer has to show something, but I think he gets 1 year leash. Especially seeing what Ohio State has done with Coach Day, where they've seen him lose multiple games now. They've given him a leash, and it's not a shot at Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's more of a leash thing.
No, yeah.
When
Yeah,
you're a good
100%.
program, you've got to keep continuity within your program.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Kalen DeBoer is going to get a couple years. I think that's what it is. But with Mississippi State, man, they just have not been all that good.
I feel like with them, they
They
kinda
had
got,
Dak Prescott, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and since they've been the most mid team.
I will say.
I will say
they've
they've
been
had
the
a
same
couple.
Since Mike Leach.
They've had a couple things happen where Mike Leach passed away, needed a head coach and stuff like that. With Jeff Lebby coming in, I think they've been put in weird, unique situations you don't always see.
Yeah.
So I feel like in some ways that could also play a role.
Oh,
Maybe,
yeah.
They just need something to kind of rebuild that program.
Yeah,
back
it's
because-
so like need to produce right now.
Yeah.
And you're either the Vanderbilts of the world where you need the next 25 years to rebuild, or you're Texas and you need to win right now.
Yeah.
And then there's like Mississippi State where you're kind of like right in the middle of things.
the middle
where
of the pack,
you can be
SEC,
good,
and
but like,
but that goes for any conference.
yeah, and this Mississippi State is that team in my
Yes.
opinion, where it's like you need to either pull back the reins a little bit, figure out what we're going to do the next 3-4 years, or we need to get success now because there are new teams coming in, and if we find ourselves at the 5th, 6th spot every single year, it's going to be just parity.
right.
Yeah, I will say this: another coach I think could be on the hot seat after this year's Brent Venables at
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma, because
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma is another historic program that does not take losing. They didn't lose
Yeah.
for a long time.
I mean, Oklahoma, you're talking historically speaking, that's a top 3-4 program in the history of college
Blue blood,
football.
yeah, they're a blue blood. And
I think that Oklahoma specifically, Brett Venables, a lot of people don't know, he's an Oklahoma guy. Like, there's a reason why he's at Oklahoma. He's an Oklahoma guy. And I think that he is going to be fine at Oklahoma. I think you need to give kind of what Andrew's saying. I think Oklahoma, they need to kind of test the waters of how they're going to be in the SEC. One thing under Brett Venables, we all know about Oklahoma when they had Lincoln Riley, it's the exact opposite now with Brett Venables. They're going to have great defense. And now that they're in the SEC, they're going to need to have great defense to win. And I think Oklahoma is going to be fine with Venables, personally. I have a coach in mind. I would like to get Alan's thought first, though, on which head coach he thinks is on the hot seat.
I could see on the hot seat the Texas head coach. I know last season what they did was really great, but the problem is now that Texas is on the up and up, they're back and people are going to say that, but now they're going to be wanting to win every season. So now a subpar performance moving on isn't going to be what fans want or what even the team is expecting now. So I do think if they don't have a good season, a good enough season, then he could be on the hot seat.
Salt and pepper.
That was more like ice water right there.
That was no salt, no pepper.
No. Okay, I'll say this. If Texas implodes on itself, yes you're totally correct.
Yeah,
I just don't see that happen.
I don't see.
I even think if they went 2-10, they'd be like, okay, what the heck happened there? Let's just see what happens with all of our great recruits in Arch Manning next year. If you then suck, you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Sarkisian, I think he's found himself in Texas. You know, I mean, he had his history of like alcohol abuse and stuff like that. Head coach at I'm trying to remember USC. I think he's had the job at Washington in the past too. You know, he had to find his way a little bit, and he's found his home in Texas. And Texas right now, with how name, image, and likeness is and everything else, that's a program. You're talking about a top 5 program in the country moving forward, regardless of. Yes, there's a lot of pressure to be the Texas head coach, 100%. Fully agreed there. I just don't see I think the success they're having right now, it's going to keep continuing, I think, with Texas moving forward. But if everything fails, if Quinn Ewers throws 45 interceptions compared to 8 touchdowns this season, then I think you'll have this conversation again about Steve Sarkisian. For me, there's an obvious head coach no one's mentioned yet, and it's Billy Napier in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to
got-
me,
He's
that's been the most
I
obvious.
feel like he's been on the hot seat.
Their schedule is horrific, too.
Florida,
it's so bad.
If they don't make a bowl game, there's no way. Honestly, if they go like 6-6 or 7-5, I would have fired Billy Napier last year. To be honest with you,
Florida, like we're forgetting when
they
you
have
talk
the
about
hardest
the Gators,
schedule in
when you talk about
arguably
the Florida
country.
Gators, when you talk about the top tier programs in the SEC historically, who are the ones you think about? You think about Alabama, you think about Florida, you think about LSU, and honestly, you also think about Tennessee as well.
Tennessee is an interesting
Georgia
one, too. I think their team has a lot of potential.
I'm a
I don't
fan
even know
of-
how to pronounce the quarterback's last name.
Nico Iamaleava.
I think he could be really good. What he showed in their bowl game last year, I think they got some potential. But
Well, they have
Billy
the projected
Napier.
first overall pick this year in James Pierce, the defensive end.
He's going to be an absolute
And
beast.
that's another sleeper team. They're not really a sleeper. I think Tennessee is back to being a relevant program in today in college football. It's just that they're not going to be as elite as those fans want them to be yet. I do think Josh Heupel's the guy for Tennessee, and I think that what he's building in Tennessee, you can keep seeing that moving forward. But to me, I still like Billy Napier. Like, no one mentioned Billy Napier.
To be honest, I forgot about Florida. That's how irrelevant they are now.
Yeah.
Florida as a program,
They're dead. They are dead right now.
they are. They need something.
They need a revival.
They thought Billy
And the thing
Napier
is,
was the revival.
The Swamp, it is the arguably one of the hardest places to play.
Oh, yeah.
When Florida's good, like when they had Urban Meyer, no
one won in the Swamp.
No one went in the Swamp and won. No one ever. It was one of the toughest places to play. It was a snake pit, and now you have. Like Missouri goes in there, wins. Texas A&M. You just have these mid-level SEC teams going into Florida and winning. And if I was a Florida alumni, like if I was any of these, I would be sick to my stomach at this program and how Billy Napier's running it. I would have fired him last year.
I feel like if you really look at the last decade, after trying to replace Urban Meyer, you've only had really Dan Mullen who had any bit of taste of success, and even then Dan Mullen still kind of struggled, So, really,
Yeah,
They haven't won the
Florida's
SEC
been-
since what, 08? When the last one time they won a natty?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and the
haven't
last
won it
time they were
since-
even good was, Kyle Trask is like pretty much the only player that has or quarterback.
And he
that has-
was a good quarterback. He was nothing special.
He was nothing special.
He was nothing special, and it's crazy how close he actually was to almost winning a Heisman Trophy. Like,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
forgetting about how close Kyle Trask
Well,
actually
and
was.
they
to the
had
Heisman Trophy
Anthony.
winner.
They had Anthony Richardson, but Richardson had a decent year. It was just all projection why he went to the top 5.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, that's another program, and you could say the same about Auburn. Auburn is another program that they have been on the highest of highs.
I like the direction Hugh Freeze has for Auburn, though.
I do too. I think this could be a good year for Auburn, but he needs to get it right soon because Auburn is also another one. It's every team in the SEC, arguably, you have to win at because the SEC,
Yes.
they don't screw around.
Yes.
It's not like PJ Fleck at Minnesota where you have the longest leash of all time. And you go 4-8
Absolutely.
every year.
Absolutely.
You go
Right.
4-8 every year, and then you have a
But
7-5 year.
When you have the 7-5 and then the occasional 9-3, 10-2, that's a program. We had that conversation.
we had that conversation
where I was
last
like, you're expected to go 8-4 and that's your really great year.
Yeah.
Where here in the SEC,
every team
regardless-
except Vanderbilt should be good.
nothing is every team goes 8-4 because how good the SEC is.
Yeah.
But their expectations are always SEC championship berth, college football playoff berth. You have at least 7 or 8 programs you look at on paper that their expectations year in and year out should be to win the SEC.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and with no divisions this year. Usually in the past there was always like, okay, let's hope Georgia and Alabama hiccup, and hopefully somebody else slides into that
Right.
that spot.
Now it's
on
top
the
two.
Yeah,
other side.
and even for the Iron Bowl, every time it was at Auburn always had something to play for, and they always played Alabama tough. Now it's not going to mean as much as because they're not going to be in the same division anymore.
Yeah.
But they're still going to play.
They're still going to play, and it's still going to be a meaningful game, but it's not going to be meaningful for the SEC if Auburn is not that good.
I still think regardless, whenever it's the Iron Bowl in Auburn always plays them tough.
They do.
And
Jalen
when it's at
Milroe last
Alabama,
year-
they lose. They don't beat Alabama.
Fourth and goal from the 31-yard line.
Yeah, Jalen
away
Milroe.
from Alabama not even making a playoff. Let's think about that.
Yeah,
All
if,
you had
if,
to do was
if
stop
they
them on
if they would have
fucking
lost that game, they
31.
wouldn't have made the playoff. Michigan probably plays Florida State. Actually,
They do play Florida State. At that point,
Michigan
yeah.
would have obliterated.
I don't
Florida
know. I think that I think even then with the injury,
They still made
to,
the argument because Georgia wouldn't have played in the SEC championship. It might have been LSU, and Georgia probably would have won, and then maybe they would have gave the hand to Georgia because they would have been undefeated.
Yeah, I think even with Florida State could have made it last year, but with the injury to Jordan Travis, they gave him the 5th seed or whatever.
Yeah, they gave him the biggest smack in the
it's so
face.
pity. I think even if they do, I still think Ohio State or Georgia still would have gotten in over them. They would have somehow made it. They get in over Florida State. I don't think there would have been any chance for them to get in.
But I think going back to the SEC, Florida is one of those jobs where you need to get it right. And I think Billy Napier, he's been on the hot seat for over a year now. It seems
He's a guy I see getting fired by week 5, week 6.
If Florida is 2-2 or 2-3, and they are just not getting off to a right start because they do have arguably the toughest schedule in all of college football. Billy Napier's gonna be gone mid-season.
Yes.
And I don't think that's even a question.
Yeah. I make the argument he's not going to be the head coach.
They could go
At the end of the
0-2
season.
and he could get fired.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think they are already this close anyway. Those boosters down there in Gainesville
Of
are
getting
already
rid, yeah.
this close.
The only thing
Fired.
that he has going for him is he got DJ Legway in.
Yes.
And-
Recruiting-wise, he's done really well.
And other than that,
He just
if
can't.
Graham Mertz can be good.
No.
I know he's so mid, it's not even funny. If he can be
He's from Wisconsin.
if he could just not turn the ball over, they could win 6 games
Can we
this
just?
year.
You're talking about Graham Mertz. Remember true freshman season at Wisconsin. He threw 5 touchdowns against Illinois. Everyone
It was
thought,
like the
oh my
first game
God.
of the season, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
It was his first game in college
It was
football.
like a
He threw-
Wednesday.
We
and
all
they were
thought-
like, yeah, Graham Mertz just threw
We
for
all
like
thought the
400
Big Ten
yards,
West
5
was finally going
touchdowns.
to have an elite quarterback or a quarterback that's
And
going to actually throw for over 200 yards a
It
game.
lasted
That was awesome.
1 week.
Yeah.
1 week.
And then he went back, and then they went back to being a Big Ten West team, winning 17 to 12. So
Getting
getting two
always
interceptions, 1 touchdown, 180 yards.
Wisconsin's always been hand the ball off to your running back, see how far
I
you
feel
can
like
take
it'll be a
us,
little
though.
different under Luke Fickell up. in
I love
Madison,
Luke
though.
Fickell, man.
I think it's going to transition
too.
a little bit. You
I
gotta give
love
him
Luke
time.
Fickell.
Let's move on to the NFL, and let's talk about the other South division, the other division with a lot more to talk about instead of the boring NFC South. Let's go into the AFC South today. And, well, I want to start with, of course, the best team in the division, and, of course, the team that I have been on record multiple times on this show saying that they're going to win the AFC this year. And that is the Coleridge Bernard Stroud IV-led Houston Texans. They have gotten nothing but better this offseason, adding Daniil Hunter on the defense, getting Stephon Diggs another weapon for C.J. Stroud to throw to. And when you talk about, the quarterback position, regardless of what people say about certain quarterbacks, you need to be a leader as the starting quarterback in the National Football League. And to me, C.J. Stroud's probably, arguably the best at being a natural-born leader. I love the direction that DeMeco Ryans and company have in Houston, and to me, there's no question that they win this division. Arguably, I'd sell the house that Houston's winning this division again.
Well, people said that last year about Jacksonville, so we'll find out. Yeah, I mean, Houston is the favorite. I can't pick them to win the division, though. And it's because, I can't pick them to win in the playoffs, I should say. They will win their division. They do have the best team. I can't have them win the playoffs because they have Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs is a curse. Wherever Stephon Diggs goes,
Fair enough.
he curses his team.
Which sucks because he's so good.
Because with Minnesota, yeah, they had the Minneapolis Miracle, and then they got their doors blown off in the NFC title game at Philly the next week by Nick Foles. And when he was with Buffalo, year after year after year, it was Kansas City, Cincinnati. It was literally those teams. Just those. It was Kansas City and Cincinnati. They could not get over the hump.
And guess what? Houston's now the team.
That's cursed. So
No, not cursed. Not cursed. Not cursed. No, Houston, they got it. They got it. I'm just letting y'all know they got it.
I don't know. I think it's so hard to predict an AFC team that isn't the Chiefs to like.
that's what I'm
get winning
saying. It's got to be
it's
the
like-
Chiefs because how can you not pick Kansas City? Nobody picked Kansas City to win the AFC last year.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people, I should say. The majority was on Baltimore. They went to Baltimore and won. They went to Buffalo and won. It's like, how can you not pick against the best player, the Michael Jordan of the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless somebody does it that isn't the Chiefs, I don't know how you say anybody else. Because you have the Ravens, you have the Bengals, you have the Bills, you have all these good teams that are up and coming and blah, 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 blah. If they do it this year, hats to you because you called it.
Yes.
But until somebody goes in and takes it over their trap, they are not giving it
I
up.
would pick 3 teams right now to beat the Texans. I'd pick the Bengals when they're healthy. If if Eminem is healthy, I would pick Kansas City to beat them, and I would pick Baltimore to beat them.
I think Baltimore they added Derrick Henry. I know we're not.
That
we're not on
offense
them.
is gonna be nuts, man.
And their defense is ridiculously good. They draft incredible every single year, and nobody gives them really the credit that they really
They don't.
deserve.
No. We're both AFC North people. Let's not give them the credit they deserve.
Oh, they do though. I mean, like they draft dudes like Odafe Owe, and he just becomes like one of the best players in the NFL. And they're like, where did this guy come from?
Someone's salty. The old
I don't know
Cleveland
either.
Browns have Super Bowls.
For me, I think the one team that is the most confusing in the AFC South is the Jacksonville Jaguars. A couple years ago, you had this big draft. You get Travis Etienne, obviously your first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, and you're like, wow, this team has such an interesting future ahead of them. and then Urban Meyer just derails everything. Like what? It was the worst hire ever.
Yeah.
It was just terrible. He's kicking the kicker's leg because he's like calling him soft or something. He's like, "Oh, you like Reese's?" Soft kicks him.
You know,
Like
we're at this point as well. You know what? Even they're talking about moving the team to London at this point as well.
it's that bad.
I would not.
it
Well,
is
they
that
play
bad.
2 games in London every year,
Yeah.
so
But-
they're already on their way.
But then they find their footing. They find a guy in Doug Peterson who had success in Philadelphia, and they go down by 30 to the Chargers, come back, have this miraculous win, and then they go to Kansas City and they get their doors blown off. That's how that happens. That's just usually how it happens.
No one's going to Kansas
You
City
win
anymore.
a big playoff game early, you lose to the best team, and then you come back the next year and you have a comeback year. Well, that didn't happen last year. They did not
It did
have
for the first half.
It did, but they
And
did
then
not
they
have the success
collapsed.
exactly. And they did not have the success that people believe that they can have. You got to be able to go in and beat the Colts, who have Gardner Minshew as their quarterback. You have to be able to do that. They lost Calvin Ridley in the offseason, who wasn't great. He accounted for like 10 drops last season. But what he can, I think Justin Lawrence, they just signed him to a massive contract.
He's
right?
making more. He's making Joe Burrow money.
$275 million contract.
Massive.
He's 55. He's making Joe Burrow money.
What can they do this next year? Because if not, I think Doug Peterson loses his job.
Yep.
I think
I agree.
people look at Trevor Lawrence, and they're like, okay, is this dude even really good? Because he might be good, but
He's
is
just
he
a glorified
really good?
Daniel Jones.
He might be.
He is the epitome of average.
Because
And
you
it-
have good weapons. You have Travis
Yeah.
Etienne, who is really underrated. I mean, I love watching Travis
good.
Etienne.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr., can he do something in the NFL? We'll see. Evan Ingram, sir, drops a lot. I don't know why you give him that contract.
I will
but
say
that's-
this: he's been a lot better in Jacksonville. I will give
Than he
him
was
that
in
credit.
New York his last year.
I mean, he wasn't even bad in New York. He just had the 1 year that was like
his
really
last year in
bad.
New York was awful, and then he signed the 1-year deal in Jacksonville.
And you
then
guys
That's
said
worked
it.
out.
I mean, you guys said it before we came on. Trayvon Walker has, to this point, been a subpar number 1
Thank you,
overall pick.
Jacksonville.
You know,
He
Aiden
was a
Hutchinson
projected- he
was
was a
right there. And I don't know if Aiden Hutchinson has the success that he has in Jacksonville that he does in Detroit because of all the storylines and, you know, how much Michigan means to him and all of this. But Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines Allen, you
Yes.
said?
Josh Hines Allen now.
That secondary is depleted at this point now. Like, they are so confusing because it feels like they can go and beat the Texans on any given day, but it also feels like
They
they can
could
go and lose to the Raiders on any given
I
day.
could see them.
Yes.
I could see them losing to anybody.
It-
And I'm
And
gonna be
beating anybody.
and be completely.
They can
honest.
beat the Chiefs at home. They cannot beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, though.
Oh,
I put my house mortgage on that.
Yeah, no. And yeah, you're right. Jacksonville is arguably the most confusing team in the league.
I just like how our in-house producer Kevin threw up Allen on the screen as he was yawning. That was perfect timing by you, Kevin. We appreciate that.
Great producer.
Great producer, by the way. As you know, maybe he should show himself. Maybe he should show himself real quick.
But with Jacksonville, I completely agree. I think Trevor Lawrence, it's not a prove it year anymore. He got his money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's signed. Jacksonville signed him. It doesn't matter.
Oh, there's Kevin.
There we go.
There's Kevin.
There's our great producer.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Great American. All right. But to me, Jacksonville doesn't have any stars, and I think that's the problem.
No.
They have good players. They have one great player in Josh Hines Allen is his name.
Now, yes. Yeah, he's got the combo name.
He
Combo
is a star.
He is a star.
I will say he is a star because he is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
You're telling me Clavon Chason isn't?
They don't have anybody else. They have a bunch of good players.
Is he from LSU in
Yes.
Joe
Yes.
Burrow era?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
He was the linebacker
That's
for
a
that
name,
2019 team.
Yeah. You're
But-
telling me Clavon Chason isn't?
Jacksonville was supposed to be that team in this division.
They
and
were.
Houston took Jacksonville's lunch money and punched them in the face.
And bought dinner with it after. too.
Yeah. And I agree. I think if Doug Peterson doesn't get this ship right, he should be fired at the end of the year.
Which is unfortunate because, like,
He started off so good.
He's the only Jaguars coach that feels like he's been able to
Do something.
lead them in some type of direction. They're owner and general manager.
It's terrible. He's
Just
very cheap, and he
sell
wants
the
to move
team. I mean, let's move to Tampa or something. Just get out of the way.
Tampa. 2 teams in
They
Tampa.
should not.
Anywhere other than
They're moving to London. If they move a team, they're going to go to London.
God, it'd be
I'll say this.
so-
I don't think they are. And the reason why Trevor Lawrence got the money he did is because people in Jacksonville do believe in this guy. And
Who else are they gonna get, though? That's the
Jacksonville,
thing.
no,
They have to pay
Jacksonville,
him.
I'm telling you, he has actually saved Jacksonville from leaving Jacksonville for the time being. That's what he's done. That's what he's done. That's what he's done. And that's why he got the
It's
money he
kind
did.
of sad because he's just been a woefully average quarterback in this league so far.
Stat-wise, yes, that's correct. Stat-wise, he's Daniel Jones. It's very similar.
I can't
I'll
believe
say
because
that.
I thought
But
he was going to be a superstar in this league.
He
He
was
shows
supposed
flashes
to be
of it.
He
though.
shows flashes.
I mean, he has moments where you're like, oh wow, this
This
dude,
is the Trevor Lawrence I saw at Clemson.
this is the dude that beat that really good Ohio State team in the
He always
Fiesta
has to
Bowl
bring
that
up
one
Ohio
year.
State, doesn't he? No,
That's-
I'm just
we're
kidding.
Did they
always-
strip
we're
it? Was that
always
a
in their
fumble or
head.
no?
That was don't you dare bring that
Don't
up, bro.
you-
Don't you dare
we're
start
always in
something
their
right
head.
now. Don't you dare start something right
Hey,
now.
I heard that in the new NCAA game, they're having a patch come out. There's an Ask Stallions button for Michigan where you get to know the other plays of the team. Should be really helpful when you're playing online.
Yeah, I don't know.
Always
Yeah,
can't wait for
yeah.
that.
Don't you
Netflix
like the
story,
Mickey Mouse
too.
Championship they finally got?
Yeah, I
It's
was gonna
beautiful.
say. You guys cheated. Doesn't matter anyway.
Oh, wow.
The Mickey Mouse Championship. It's amazing.
Your 3-year Linsanity runs over.
Yep.
And it
Congratulations.
was a
Go back to
beautiful sight to
reality.
see. Let me tell you, I was as happy as anybody when they won the Rose Bowl. It was beautiful. I remember that night.
Too bad the roses died really quickly after.
Yeah, they did.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Can't wait for Desmond Howard to say Alex Orji's going to win the Heisman this year.
Back on AFC South talk though. Let's go to the Titans, shall we? Because
Yeah, Tennessee. So another confusing team. There's a whole lot of these teams in the AFC South. I don't know what Tennessee is, but I will say this. They remind me of the Detroit Lions a decade ago. Having few pieces of talent, but never doing anything with them. 7-9. Well, it was 7-9. Now 7-10, 6-11. That will be the Titans. They will either go 6-11 or 7-10. Will Levis showed flashes last year, and he actually had a connection with DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think it amounts to anything because this Titans team, they still have a awful offensive line, even with getting J.C. Latham from Alabama. The other 4 guys suck. Their defense, other than L'Jarius Sneed and Jeffrey Simmons, is not good.
he's good though, Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons is very good. And L'Jarius Sneed, arguably one of the best corners in the league.
they got Chidobe Awuzie, they got Jamal Adams.
Chidobe Awuzie.
They got
coming
Harold
off of-
Landry.
Okay,
Harold
if this was 6 years ago, then yes, Jamal Adams. But this is
Harold
not.
Landry is a solid piece on the defense as
A
well.
lot of these guys are coming off injuries though.
I was gonna say you're naming a bunch of ACL tear dudes and a bunch of guys that are either average or below average. And in this division, when you have Houston with that elite offense, when you have Jacksonville who shows flashes of having a good offense, and even Indianapolis who has one of the best running backs in the league, and hopefully an electric quarterback in Anthony Richardson, this Titans team makes no sense. I don't think they're going to be very good. I do think they finished last in the division, and I think they really I think it was a mistake this offseason. I think what Tennessee should have done is they should have just tanked this year. Go all out, be the worst team in the league. Because now you're going to be in purgatory to where you are average, and that's it. You are going to be 7-10 every year. You have pieces, but it's not going to amount to anything. That's why I said they're the early 2010s Detroit Lions. They had pieces, but never did anything with them. That's the Titans. Except the Titans won't make the playoffs. The Titans will be bad. And I think paying L'Jarius Sneed all this money, great. I mean, he earned it. Sneed should have gone to a contending team. They paid who's the running back? Tony Pollard. They paid
Tony Pollard.
Tony
They have
Pollard,
Calvin Ridley.
who's good.
They have
Calvin
DeAndre
Ridley, who
Hopkins.
was not great. I just don't understand where their direction is because they're paying a bunch. Besides L'Jarius Sneed, they're paying a bunch of average dudes. Tony Pollard showed flashes of being good. In Tennessee, it's going to be different that they don't have Derrick Henry now. Calvin Ridley is a below average player.
No, yeah.
He's not good anymore. In Atlanta, he was good. Then he had the gambling problem. Now he's not good anymore.
I think he's fine.
Tennessee doesn't make sense because they have a bunch of average pieces with some talent. And I think they should have just tanked this year, get Will Levis a full season to see what he's got, and make your decision on there. We don't know if Will Levis is the guy. He showed flashes of being good last year, but he wasn't an elite quarterback. He wasn't a very good quarterback. He wasn't a good quarterback. He was solid. Now it is his rookie year, and I think this will be a big year for him. I really think Tennessee, and I do think they did the right thing in drafting J.C. Latham as their offensive line. But they are a very confusing team. They have some talent, but they don't have nearly enough to do anything in this division.
I think Tennessee makes the playoffs as a wild card team this year. I think they finished second in this division. I
think you're ridiculously crazy.
You think I'm ridiculously
yes,
crazy?
I think you're smoking crack.
I think there's just too many teams.
What about Tennessee?
You look at the AFC
What
North
about Tennessee
itself.
makes them think that? What makes you think that they're going to be a very good team?
What makes me think that they're going?
What makes you think they're going to make the playoffs?
I like the pieces they've added, personally. They're still going out for more pieces. It sounds like they're going to try and get Justin Simmons to get in that secondary as well.
Oh, if Justin Simmons was so good, why hasn't anybody got him yet?
Oh. But
exactly. He's not good anymore.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. With Tennessee, I think they're trying their best to be as good as possible without Derrick Henry in the fold. I think they're trying to completely change who they are and their identity.
Oh, yeah. They had the defense and the running game with Mike Vrabel, and then they just decided to
I really think firing Mike Vrabel was a mistake.
Loved
Mike Vrabel.
I liked Mike Vrabel, but now that they've got Coach Callahan, offensive-minded coach.
Brian Callahan, let me tell you one thing about him. He's either very consistent or he's very inconsistent. A lot of the I'm a Cincinnati
so he's consistently
Bengals fan.
inconsistent.
Sounds like Tennessee.
I'm a Bengals fan. Okay, I watched this man. Now he doesn't call all the plays. Zach Taylor does, but being an OC is still 50% of that.
You're still drawing up the plays,
so
the formations.
The thing with the Bengals the past couple years is that they really struggled to get all of their pieces together on the same plane. At first, it was Jamar had the deep ball. That's what worked the year that they went to the Super Bowl. Yeah. The second year, they started out poorly because everybody took away the deep ball.
Right.
So they had to start doing this dink and dunk offense. What I really liked about Brian Callahan is it took him a while, right? But he adjusted. I don't think that this team is going to be incredible. I don't think Will Levis is going to have the best season of all time. But I think they are going to adjust throughout the year. I think as the year goes on, they will get better. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think they will start poorly and maybe
make a run.
I think I wouldn't say run per se, but I don't think they're going to be a thorn in people's side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See, I think Tennessee's being disrespected because of the fact that a lot of their pieces are quote unquote older, quote unquote, past their prime. Everyone sees a player in a Tennessee Titans uniform and they automatically look at them and they're like, oh, they're out their prime. Because look, historically, that's kind of accurate.
Yeah.
With the exception of Eddie George and Chris Johnson, but
CJ2K.
But I do think you still have a lot of quality players on that roster that they've added.
No, I agree. I just don't think it amounts to anything, at least this season.
Not with as much talent.
You need to see more from Will Levis. You make your decision on Will Levis at the end of this year.
Yeah.
If you're going to either keep him or draft a quarterback,
which is the day and age.
And I'm hinging this on the fact that I think Will Levis will have a fairly decent season. I think Will Levis, he's shown flashes and he's also shown awful. So the thing is, I think Will Levis has a chance in Tennessee. I think that. Yeah, there's a lot of drama. Oh, he's supposed to go top 3 overall. Some of the draft prospects.
We thought he was going number 3 to the Titans.
Some
second.
Mel Kiper's sitting here saying, "Oh, he's my guy for number 1." Obviously, he dropped all the way down the draft.
Mel Kiper's so stupid.
He's not bad though. He's
Will Levis to me.
He showed some good games.
He did. Showed some very good talent. He has the arm strength.
Oh,
out this world.
He's got the arm strength. He can be Josh Allen. If it turns out, if he can just keep progressing. He's got the arm for Josh Allen. He plays like Josh Allen.
Yes.
He just has to develop.
Yes. And it took, people forgot, it took Josh Allen 3 years.
Yeah.
It took Josh Allen 3
years.
And it took him
acquiring Stephon Diggs to really get over the hump.
Yeah, and they've got. I know D Hop's out of his prime.
They had a really good connection.
And I mean, Calvin Ridley. You can say what you want about Calvin Ridley. Let's see what he does.
He's a below average receiver, but he's better than nothing.
He's a wide receiver too. D Hop's the wide receiver 1, and Calvin Ridley's wide receiver 2.
Hey, and Okoronkwo, their tight end, is electric. By the way, nobody's giving him any love here, but he's a beast. You might not know him, but if you need a waiver wire tight end for the week, pick up. I think it's Chidoge Okoronkwo, something like that.
That's a fun name to say.
He's a beast, dude.
Yeah.
He's not gonna get you 10 catches for 120 yards.
Hey, all I ask from a tight end's 10 points.
6 for 42. He's there.
All I ask, 10 points.
10 points
from a tight end. That's all I ask
yards
for.
right there.
That's all I asked for.
He's not bad.
Let's get to the last team here in the AFC South and go over to Allen with the Indianapolis Colts. What do we see with Anthony Richardson?
I like this Colts team this year.
Elaborate. He heard me talking and stopped. Elaborate, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I like this Indianapolis team. I see this team going 9-8 with a healthy Anthony Richardson and a healthy Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Anthony Richardson, he was showing flashes of a great quarterback last year up until his injury, so that was unfortunate for them. And I'm a believer in him. I almost picked him in fantasy last year. So glad I didn't because of that injury. But I do think that he could be one of the better quarterbacks in this league if he can stay healthy. And on the flip side, their defense is still, I wouldn't say it's top 10 defense. I would call it a top 15 defense at most. They have some pieces on defense, but I do think that they could play like a 9-8 team.
Yeah, I'm never taking a Colts quarterback ever again. I drafted Andrew Luck, and then he retired a week later. So
enjoy. Draft Andrew Luck, retire. Draft Anthony Richardson, injured by week 3. Yeah. The Colts to me are like, I don't know. They're just there. Like right now,
they are kind of just there.
This whole AFC South, except the Texans, just there.
It's weird.
It's
though,
a bunch of mid or below.
It's weird because I could see anyone in this division being 9-8 and being second behind Houston. I think Houston will be the best team. But I see any of these other 3 teams could realistically finish second. I don't see a clear-cut last place team in this division.
No, yeah. I think the Colts, they could come out and be...
it all depends on how Anthony Richardson is.
I mean, Anthony Richardson is really the biggest what if. I mean, that's obviously like, wow, what a hot take. But Michael Pittman Jr. is so underrated.
Yes.
He is like, he's as good, in my opinion, as T. Higgins is. And most people don't even talk about him that way. He's just consistent. He's a good route runner. He can do almost the whole route tree. And then Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's back. They lose Zach Moss to the Bengals, but now it's back to Jonathan Taylor's backfield. Can he come back and really play well? They're going to have a decent offensive line. They usually almost always do. Their linebacking core is really good. I mean, I think they re-signed Zaire Franklin.
Yeah.
But
drafted Leatu Latu as well.
I mean, they have these
class.
The Grover Stewart is still there, I believe. Eric Armstead, I believe, is still there. They have a good defense.
DeForest Buckner?
That's who I mean. DeForest Buckner, not Eric Armstead. Both 49ers, though. Mm-hmm. I like it. It's a good team. And I think any given day, especially if the Latu kid can play well, I think they could beat the Texans any given day.
I think this whole division can beat each other any given day. I think that, realistically speaking, I think it's Houston and everybody else. And I can't really tell you who's going to finish last because I think that anyone in this division could go 3-14 or 10-7.
Not the Texans is the answer.
Not the Texans.
Yeah,
they're the only team that has such little can finish last. If they finish last,
something's wrong.
Something's wrong in Houston.
Something's not
right.
Or C.J. Stroud got
it'd be Stephon Diggs because it's the Stephon Diggs curse. No, I agree. I think the Colts can be 9-8. They're just an average team to me. They have pieces. It all depends on how Anthony Richardson is this year. Michael Pittman to me is arguably a top 10 receiver in the league when he's healthy. He's very, very
Yes.
underrated. And not a lot of people know him because he plays in Indy, and Indy's not like this big market team.
Right.
But like Anthony Richardson, if he goes out and he just keeps running into guys and running into the linebackers and acting like everything's okay, he's going to get annihilated, and then the Colts are going to be right back to square one where they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have Minshew now. He has to learn to not scramble all the time, and he has to learn to protect his body because he was trying to play Madden last year when he first came into the league, and he learned fast you can't do that because you will get obliterated.
Yes. I think Anthony Richardson will be fine.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Richardson will do well, and he was drafted based off of
Potential.
And I think he does have a lot of potential. And look at the head coach Shane Steichen. We had the conversation of would they draft Richardson or Levis. It was because Shane Steichen and his job that he did with Jalen Hurts. It was pretty obvious, I thought, where the direction was going to go. And I like Richardson. I think that Indianapolis is going to be fine. It's weird. This division, it's just, to me, it's the weirdest division because all 4 teams I see could easily make the playoffs. But I also could see all of them, with the exception of Houston, being god-awful at the same time.
Yeah.
It just depends how this division plays out, as it does every year. That's going to wrap up this football segment, a very long one, probably over an hour of conversation
Definitely
from
was.
here.
Yeah.
But we still have just a little bit more left in the show. When we come back, we're going to talk about MLB trade deadline talk. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Ball and Beast podcast. And welcome back here to the Ball and Beats podcast, episode 110.
Wow.
How about that?
It's a whole lot.
It's a lot.
Spencer to my left, Andrew to my right, Alan through Zoom, as we are going to talk a little bit.
Hi, Alan.
Wow.
Oh, never mind.
There we go.
Not hi, Alan.
Not hi, Alan.
That's
Hi.
a split screen,
Hi,
all
hi,
right.
hi, guys. Hi,
Hi,
That's a
all of
split
us.
screen, all right.
Kevin, show yourself.
It's an infinity screen. It's an infinity screen.
We got to keep this one in. I'm not going to lie. We're going to just keep rolling with this because this is
Okay.
amazing. But we're going with MLB trade deadline talk. Spencer, you're going to lead the floor with this one.
Yeah. So trade deadline's July 30th. It's, I believe, 6 days away. And there's it's a pitchers heavy market this year. Very, very, very heavy pitchers market. There's a few bats out there. Tampa Bay mostly is the bats. Randy Arozarena has been linked to the Dodgers. Isaac Paredes, he's out there.
If Isaac Paredes gets traded,
He probably will, so don't get your hopes up. But mainly it is pitchers heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get Andrew's opinion because I'm a Tigers fan, and a lot of people, and this has been a big topic, they think Tarek Skubal is going to get traded. I don't. I think Skubal is going to get paid, and I think he's going to stay a Tiger. Would I be mad if he gets traded? No. But we better be getting Jackson Holliday, Kobe Mayo, and we better be getting a ransom from the Baltimore Orioles if we do trade him, because Skubal is arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Andrew, your Padres need some pitching. Mainly bullpen arms.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want them to trade for?
Personally, I don't want them to trade for anybody.
Really? You
I'm
think
not
they're
gonna-
fine just like that?
I think there are a couple players in the bullpen, Aniel De Los Santos, Yuki Matsui. Those two guys really have just performed poorly this year. Wandy Peralta as well. But you find guys like Jeremiah Estrada, Robert Suarez. They've both been really, really good for us.
Suarez has been very
The great thing about us is that we have really good starting pitching. If we can get to the 7th inning and we're leading, you guys might as well wrap it up because you got your setup in Jeremiah Estrada, our closer, and Robert Suarez. I don't want us to trade for anything due to the fact that we don't have pieces to actually give up right now.
Yeah, you traded
We
all
have
your
two-
prospects to
We
Washington
have two good
for Juan Soto.
prospects right now, Leotis DeVries and Ethan Salas. And then
I could see Salas being a piece. He's
I-
an 18-year-old catcher, right?
you better give me Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert III.
I
or
don't think
Junior?
you want Robert Jr.
You better give me both of those.
Hitting
two
under
guys,
200 this
because it's been real unfortunate how many big prospects we've given away. Ask the Washington Nationals how our prospects do. James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Robert Hassel III, who you haven't seen yet because he's in the minors, but he's going to be good.
That is a very win-win trade.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
you go
San
to
Diego got Josh Bell, who, was a nothing. He had some hits, didn't do all that much, but it was Juan Soto.
Hey, wild card winner or wild card hero against the Mets a couple years ago. We get to the NLDS or CS. Sorry, we get blown away from the Phillies, but you do that trade 10 times out of 10.
Because it gave you guys a shot to make the World Series.
Absolutely.
And that's what you guys wanted because San Diego has the pieces. For Washington, they were going to rebuild. They knew they were trading Soto. Washington has gotten outstanding prospects. James Woods, Robert Hassel, C.J. Abrams is the best piece. He's looking like a young stud at shortstop. And Mackenzie Gore is a fantastic pitcher for them. I think it's really weird he wears number 1, though, as a pitcher. It really throws me off. But, yeah. And like I said, this is a very pitchers-heavy market this year. You got Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. Obviously, the Tigers, Tarek Skubal, Jack Flaherty's on there. Who out of those do you see the most likely being traded?
Jack Flaherty. With Garrett Crochet, it's so hard because the White Sox have all of the
They're dead.
They have all of the advantage in this trade because they can get as much as they want, and they're not going to give them away for free. No. So if you want to back up the Brink trucks and give, the Dodgers are like, here's 7 of our top 15 prospects, you give him up. Why not? But he's going to resign. Tariq Skubal, I don't understand. My problem with him is he's so good, and the Tigers are so inconsistent. I would understand if it was the Orioles where their rebuild was like they suck. Now they're good. But with the Tigers, it's like they were so good 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Then they've just been mid and mid.
They haven't been
and
they've
mid.
Been garbage.
And they were so close with Riley Green. And if
he's good.
Riley
Green is a very good player.
No. Spencer Torkelson. If they don't miss on Spencer Torkelson, this team is probably really good because he had 30 homers last year.
Torkelson hit 230,
and
which is it's not great, but a first baseman I can deal with that as long as you hit power. He had 31 home runs and 94 RBIs last year. His OPS was around 700. The average is 750.
Yeah.
His problem is he's always hot and cold. Torkelson had a terrible year for 4 months last year and then had a great 2 months where he was hitting like 280 and he hit all of his home runs then. He was so hot and cold and now he's just, he's done. And it sucks because I do agree. I think that if you had Torkelson...
Solid Toledo Mudhen.
Not even solid. He's hitting like 220 in Toledo.
Yeah, he's been...
his OPS is like 620. It's terrible. But... Torkelson, if he was even somewhat of what he resembled last year, you had Colt Keith, who has been a very solid rookie so far. He's having around 720 OPS. Shortstop, forget about it. We're not talking about the shortstop positions. It's dead to me. Third base, Matt Vierling, okay.
He's a veteran.
He's a veteran, not great, but
you got Jace Young coming up though. He'll be not bad. And Max Clark in 11 years because he's 14.
Now
He's good.
I want them to trade Tarek Skubal. And I'm going to tell you why. I want you to think of next year, and I want you to think of this infield that the Tigers will be trotting out. You got Kobe Mayo at third base, who's hitting .995 in Norfolk, AAA for the Baltimore Orioles. You got Jackson Holliday at shortstop, who's hitting .965, also in Norfolk. Second base, you have Jace Young, rookie. I think he's hitting .850, .860 in Toledo. Pretty good. And then at first base, you have Colt Keith. Colt Keith has not been a great second baseman defensively. I think he needs to move to first. Change his position. That's your entire infield for the next decade. And it all depends on this. Elias, the general manager for the Baltimore Orioles, would have to say, screw my prospects. I want to go win a World Series. Corbin Burns isn't re-signing with us. I want Tarek Skubal to pair with Corbin Burns because my entire pitching staff is dead.
Yeah.
And I really think Baltimore would win a World Series if they traded for Tarek Skubal. Because think of playing Tarek Skubal your first game. You can go back you can go back and forth and Corbin Burns, whoever you'd start first. That's 2 wins. Those guys are giving up a max of 2-3 runs each, and Baltimore can score easily. Personally, I don't think Baltimore would do that. Giving Colby Mayo and Jackson Holliday would be a lot.
You're not going to get both. You
would get one.
You would get one, and then you're most likely going to end up with some type of variety of Connor Norby, who is another infielder.
I'd be fine with him.
Potentially
Heston Kjerstad
Heston
probably
Kjerstad,
too. I don't like him, though.
He hit a grand slam against the Rangers.
He's so hot and cold, dude.
So is everybody in the league. I mean, if you think about it.
Except Shohei Ohtani. Who's just insane.
And Mookie Betts. Other than that, those two are just insanely good. The fact that they're on the same team should be illegal. But
it's not like the Dodgers are actually going to.
They don't have a salary cap. You can go on.
The Dodgers. If the Dodgers, they're
not going to win the World Series. They never do.
It'll be
only in COVID against the Rangers.
The Dodgers are such a hot and cold team too.
They just draft so well that it's
that's why I think the Dodgers. I think Garrett Crochet, the Dodgers would be a good move because I do think the Dodgers would go out. And every single year, I swear the Dodgers have a top 5, top 10 farm system. They develop at the highest level every single year, and they would easily get Garrett Crochet from the White Sox because the White Sox, they do have the leverage because Garrett Crochet is 24, but the White Sox have nothing.
Yeah.
They have Colston Montgomery, who's a top 50 prospect as a shortstop, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't remember who they drafted in the draft this year, but it doesn't matter. Most of the guys in Chicago don't develop or don't pan out anyway. But no, I in terms of Skubal, I want him to be traded. I don't think they will. No. That's my opinion. I don't think it'll happen because I don't think the Tigers want to trade him unless they are getting an absolute grand slam insane haul from the Baltimore Orioles, which would be Colby Mayo, which would be Jackson Holliday, and Norby or Beavers or Kjerstad, someone like that.
You would have to give up more for Jackson Holliday. You would have to give up.
See,
I
think
somebody else.
I think Skubal for Jackson Holliday and a lower level prospect. I think Baltimore would do. I don't think they'd give up Colby Mayo added, because if you think about it, their biggest, I would say, Baltimore's biggest need right now is outfielders because Anthony Santander is getting older. What's their left? Austin Hayes is getting older, and he's been up and down this year. Their infield is pretty much set except second base because you can alternate between shortstop and third base for Gunnar Henderson.
He's incredible.
And he's an absolute...
He's ridiculously good.
He's absolutely
him and Adley
insane.
are...
They
remind me a lot
baseball.
of Klay Thompson and Steph Curry in NBA terms of being able to draft and then they just seamlessly come into the MLB and they're that good. The one team I think we're not talking about and maybe we wouldn't have is the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Hottest team in baseball the first half of the year. Hottest team. And then they have the coldest stretch maybe of any team as well, including the White Sox. They were horrific. So bad. And now they're win a game, lose 2. Win a game, lose 1, win 3. It's so inconsistent. And they have Juan Soto. They traded all those players for Juan Soto, who Michael King, Wandy Peralta, all those guys. They're not going to miss those guys. They don't care.
No.
They care about a World Series. Can this team go out and win a World Series? Not right now. But are you going to re-sign Juan Soto? Probably not if you don't make the playoffs because the Red Sox are right there. The Orioles are right there. And it just, if you can re-sign Juan Soto, you go and you get 2 rental bats because your infield is horrific. DJ LeMahieu, get out of town.
He's dead.
Gleyber Torres, get out of town.
Dead.
Their first baseman, who is, I don't even know wwho it is.
Anthony Rizzo.
He's hurt. The one, Ben Rice.
And then Kyle Higashioka.
Get out of town.
Kyle Higashioka.
Kyle is actually, he plays for the Padres now. But yeah, he might have been the best trade for the Padres actually. He's an absolute dog at catcher. Don't want to talk about Luis Campusano, but anyways, the Yankees. What are you gonna do there? Because they kind of need pitching, but Garrett Cole's back. They kind of need hitting, but what are you going to really get with what prospects they have?
For me, the Yankees they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think that's a problem. The problem for me is they literally have 2 superstars and then nothing. They have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. And then they have a bunch of either average players or players who go on hot streaks and then fall off the planet of the earth.
Yeah.
Gleyber Torres. He's not re-signing. There's no way. Garrett Cole being out for the first months of the year really hurt the Yankees, and they still were first place at one point. But in the end, I think Baltimore wins that division. I just think they're the better team, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
They have the best offense, arguably one of the best offenses in baseball. Their pitching staff is a big issue, but I think they'll go out and they'll get probably either Garrett Crochet or if they give the ransom, Tarek Skubal. But the Yankees, to me, I think Juan Soto leaves. I think he's going to be a Met next year. I think the Mets are just going to drop.
Oh, wow.
I think they're going to literally give him everything he wants. They will give him a blank check and say, I don't care what it takes. I want you to be a Met next year. And they're going to do it because the Mets have the money. They have the money. It's not like there's a salary cap. They got to pay Pete Alonso, though. If they don't re-sign Pete Alonso, Juan Soto's not going.
I don't think. I like Pete Alonso.
Because where else would Juan Soto go? Who has the money to sign Juan Soto? And if you say the Dodgers, please, no. Just no. We don't need that.
The one team that I would really like him to go to that would make things just so interesting for so many teams is the Milwaukee Brewers.
Not Tampa.
They don't spend, and they're a small market.
They don't, and they are a small market.
They're not going to give them that
pitching staff that they have, Jackson Chourio, who is, or however you say his last name, he's good. Like, they somehow hit the ball, and nobody knows how because they just have, like Christian Yelich is back. Nobody knows how.
Turang's pretty good.
Bryce Turang.
Willie
He's been up and down a little bit, but he's been good. But they always somehow have a good bullpen. And I would really like to see him go there or the Pittsburgh Pirates because the Pirates are another team that need
another cheap owner, another cheap market, and another team that won't spend. But I will say Juan Soto and Paul Skeens on the same team would be electric.
It would be. I mean, how many tickets are you selling there? You're telling me you want to be cheap then, and you got Juan Soto
I swear,
and Paul Skeens
sold out every time.
And Livy Dunn doing autographs outside?
Why not Tampa Bay? For Juan Soto.
Oh yeah, because Tampa Bay really pays money.
Tampa Bay does stuff differently, dude.
Tampa Bay finally.
You know what they do? They have arguably the best farm system in baseball and have no money to pay them after they develop.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They actually really do. They have arguably the best farm system.
Tampa Bay finally paid somebody. He just turned out to be a pedophile.
I was just about to say, he who shall not be named, man, was going to be so good for them. And then he just, he Josh Giddied himself. But,
oh my God.
Yeah,
it's very true. It's very sad. And it's sad to see a Rosarena hit like 170 this year. It's not pretty.
Dude, Randy's still good, though.
I love Randy. He's the guy I wanted to pay more than Wander
His
Franco
fall off has been insane.
Hey, honestly, I feel like part of it's dealt with Wander Franco. Personally,
listen,
think that's affected this team.
You leave Blake Snell in the game in Game 6.
We win
you
the
guys
World
get a World Series.
We win the World Series.
You guys leave Blake Snell in, you win a World Series.
Yep.
But I think now I don't think anybody's a fan here, but the Guardians.
The Guardians
go
are
out
nasty.
and get. I just watched them on Sunday in person. They are horrific. But go out and get Brent Rooker from the Oakland Athletics, a dude who can go hit. Just get somebody for your 4-hole, okay? Jose Ramirez is a dog, okay?
They have
Steven Kwan
they have
is a
3
dog.
players. They have 3 players, and
the
then they
best closer in baseball.
And then then their bottom half of their lineup's either horrific or it's a bunch of dudes who are hot for 1 week and then fall off the planet of the earth.
Yeah, go get yourself Brent Rooker. Call back up Kyle Manzardo and go get yourself an AL Central.
I don't think they have a problem. I don't think Kansas City has the horses to keep up with Cleveland. I think Cleveland's pitching staff, even with losing Shane Bieber, although they have been having a few bullpen days, I think Cleveland will end up winning this division.
Oh yeah.
I think their experience is a lot. Will go, but they got dudes like what was it? Joncy Noel. Hit a home run.
Joncy Noel. He's good.
Hit a home run. Mr. Christmas, as they call him. And I'm like, who is this dude?
Yeah.
I've never heard of them before in my life. Half the Cleveland players in the bottom lineup, I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Like Schneemann, who, you know.
Third baseman. He can play short, though. He's good. He's got
good.
some good defense to him.
But, like, you know, you got Stephen Kwan, obviously. Very, very good player. You got Jose Ramirez. You got Josh Naylor.
You need one more.
And then you need one more.
You need
Brent
one more
Rooker
piece.
would be good for them. He's not a star. He's not a very good player, but he is a good player, and he is a player that will hit and has a ton of
For
has
power.
Plus power.
Yeah. You got to be able to. You got to find something, and he's a guy that the Oakland Athletics suck. They just do. They're the worst team in baseball.
Yeah, they haven't been good in years.
Yeah.
They are a selling franchise year in and year out. The fact that they are even still around, it should be illegal because it's disrespectful
They're
to
just
the game
packing
of
up for
ball.
Vegas
Like, at
at
least
this
the
point.
Tigers are trying. Like,
Well, the
the
Tigers
Athletics
are never
just
gonna
aren't.
move.
Like,
The Tigers are never going to be relocated.
no, but like the Athletics, I mean, the players are trying, and it's super sad to see that like
I don't think there's a
they're
sadder
putting
situation
out
in
a
Chicago.
team that hates everybody. Like the whole situation, everybody hates. The players hate. The ownership hates.
It's going to be worse
the
next year
coaches
when they're
hate.
playing in Sacramento and they're just called the Athletics.
It's bad. Yeah, I know. If you look at the schedule now, it just says ATH instead of Oak for Oakland because they're just the Athletics.
It's stupid. It's the stupidest
It's
thing.
horrific.
And, you know, I'd argue Oakland's in the worst spot, but I think it's the White Sox because the White Sox, like, when Oakland goes to Vegas, they will spend. That's not a question. They will have infinity money with Vegas.
Once they get to Vegas, I think they're going to be in a
They're
league.
literally gonna start saying, "Hey, here's $200 million. Come play for the Athletics if they keep their name." But I think they will. But the White Sox, Jerry Reinsdorf is the cheapest owner in all of baseball. He doesn't pay his players, and then he trades them off when they have value. The White Sox were good for 2 years, had arguably one of the best futures in baseball. And you had Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, you had Yohan Moncada, Liam Hendricks, and they all just fell off the planet.
Tim Anderson.
Tell
me
too,
about
I
a
forgot
guy
him.
that's fallen off, got
Talk
punched
about
by
Pearson. I was
Jose
gonna
Ramirez
say.
and then died.
Yep.
Like that was it. No, yeah, they fell off very quickly, but I think the Guardians are maybe the only team that can compete with Baltimore, in my opinion. I think there are a couple teams in the AL that can compete with them, but I think it's Baltimore's to lose right now. And I think the Guardians have the best chance with the pitching that they have and the overall players that they have. I think if they go out and get one more player that can really hit the ball and play some okay defense, they can go and compete with Baltimore. But other than
That's another team I could see getting Randy Arozarena.
I like me some Randy Arozarena.
I hate these people bringing up Randy Arozarena. He should be a Tampa Bay Ray for life. That's
He
okay,
won't be, though.
He won't be. And if he
He's
goes to the
gone.
Guardians, I'll
If
go
he
with
was a
him.
pitcher, he might be, but he's not.
He's either going to be a Dodger or a Guardian.
Ugh, good
If he
Lord,
goes,
man.
if he goes to Cleveland, I might follow him to Cleveland. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, jeez.
But that's all right though. I think this is a good spot to wrap up this baseball talk. We have just one more segment to go. Little Olympics talk. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Ball and Beats podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to episode 110 of the Ball and Beats podcast. I have Spencer to my right, Andrew to my left, and well, you know, since we're talking about Olympics, just like Joe Biden, Allen has dropped out of this race and is no longer on the call. However, let's talk a little bit of the Olympics, as the opening ceremony is on Friday. And for the United States, LeBron James will be one of the flag bearers
Wow.
for America. How about that? First time.
What an honor for LeBron. Just don't lose to South Sudan and, you know, the Group C or whatever group they're in.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Right,
just a-
right. We need to talk about that, though. What is happening with this basketball team going into the Olympics? They aren't... Is it just the fact that they're just not trying because it's not the Olympics yet? Or is there just other problems there?
I don't know. I mean, it seemed like they were trying, but, like, They were trying at the end of the game, like
Yeah.
they were like, oh shoot, we don't want to lose to South Sudan.
Right.
But I mean, it could be a mix of both. I mean, in the end, it really doesn't matter. They were just exhibition games. It's just it would be embarrassing if that team lost because that team shouldn't lose to anybody with how much talent they have.
Right.
I don't think it matters. I think I'm with him over there. I don't think it matters. They're gonna run through the Olympics, and that's why you have LeBron be your flag bearer.
Yeah.
It's an easy gold. I know it's like there's other teams that are really good, but
it's easy.
you have the best, 15? It's like 12, 15 players. It's that they should dominate. They should dominate.
They
And
should
if they
dominate.
They should dominate, but that's the thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows, really? Because, I mean, last go-around, you didn't have as many really good players on that roster. But, I don't know. I just have question marks. It's just the fact that last go-around in the Olympics, they didn't have, like, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry on that roster. And they didn't get anything. They didn't get anything out of it. And, I feel like the rest of the world is starting to catch up with America when it comes to sports basketball.
Yeah.
The rest of the world
Absolutely.
is.
I mean,
They're actually better, quicker.
oh yeah,
they
training.
are
I mean,
in the United
you
States.
got to think. I mean, and this is Michael Jordan's fault. Training is just completely different. I mean, Michael Jordan made the game go global. I think that's why, in my opinion, he's the best player of all time. But we can debate on how that really actually matters. But I mean, the game is global now. Everybody knows there's training regimens. There's accessibility to the game of basketball that there used to not be, that only the United States really had, and now it's global, and that's why you see Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, the Joker, who are, in my opinion, the best three players in the NBA.
Yeah, the best players in the NBA nowadays are coming from overseas,
Yep.
And that's just how that's going to continue to be that way,
unless something changes.
most likely. Yep.
Unless something changes, and I mean, you mentioned off air already that Victor Wembanyama.
I
You
think
think
he's
he
should be a
still top
Piston.
10. I think he's already top 10. I think the Spurs in the next 10 years are going to be champions at least twice.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of these other sports, though, with the Olympics real quick. What are the other events you guys are probably looking forward to the most?
Swimming, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Swimming, I mean, nobody watches it until it hits the Olympics, but swimming is always so much fun to watch. I mean, just the different types that they have, the
there's been a lot
speed.
of-
I mean,
there's been a lot of crap talk from a foreign country as well, talking about Australia, saying that they would easily wipe the floor with America this year in the swimming events. I don't know if you guys have seen that at all, but the Aussies are talking a lot of crap to the United States going into the Olympics,
See how well
saying
that
that they would
lasts.
easily wipe the floor with the American swimmers this year. Katie Ledecky has always bossed at the Olympics. She is a boss when it comes
yeah,
to
she's incredible at what she does. Yeah.
and then gymnastics as well. Simone Biles going back, of course.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a really good year for Americans at the Olympics. I think that the United States are probably going to walk away with the most medals. I believe.
Yeah.
I believe going into this year. It starts Saturday. Opening ceremony is Friday, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Olympics throughout the next couple weeks here on this podcast. And that's going to wrap up episode 110 here from the Ball and Beats podcast. A very, 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 very long episode from us today. Please like, subscribe, hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. We will see you guys again next week. So long.
See you guys.
See you.